Hello YouTube, I'm Dom the musician. My name's Dom, I'm a musician. Here's my degree. In this series of videos I'm looking at Murray Gold's music for Doctor Who Series 1 and exploring what makes it so fantastic. I'm going to be going through in roughly chronological order and talking about some of my favourite themes. I'm also going to be using some musical jargon, but I've provided a glossary of terms which you can find in the description, so even if you don't know anything about musical theory, you hopefully won't get lost. Let's go! I think it's time we talk about the weird pitch bend obsession that Murray had in Series 1.
So, if you don't know, this is the pitch bend wheel. It smoothly raises or lowers the pitch of the note you're playing in an attempt to recreate the glissando effect that you'd get from, say, bending a guitar string or sliding a finger up or down a violin.
Throughout Doctor Who Series 1, Murray mostly uses it on either synths,
hello,
or these quite dated sounding orchestral samples. When used subtly or low in the mix, pitch bend can do a decent job of recreating the string glissando sound that you'd find in, say, a Johnny Greenwood soundtrack. But as you'll probably be aware by now, subtlety is not high on Murray Gold's list of priorities. When Rose first enters the cage, there's this minor sixth interval. Sounds kind of like a question, which then pitch bends down to a minor fifth, back up to a minor sixth, then a major sixth, sort of like a rearranged Bond theme, and then finally a minor seventh.
hello. Are you in pain? My name's Rose Tyler. I've got a friend he can help.
It goes to a really nice E chord when the Dalek starts talking, with lots of suspended notes, the fourth, the sixth, the seventh, that make it sound very unresolved.
They torture me, but still.
Normally what determines whether a chord is major or minor is the third. This chord doesn't have that, it practically has everything but that. Unlike the Doctor, Rose has no preconceptions about what a Dalek is, and the music sort of represents that uncertainty. When the Dalek says, "I am dying," it gets a little bit more resolved.
I am dying.
You get this A sus2, which resolves to an A minor 7.
No, we can help.
I welcome death.
Because she's leaning towards sympathising with it. There's a great chord when it says "My race is dead," with an F sharp in the bass, a major sixth, and a minor ninth.
My race is dead.
I don't even know what that chord is, but it segues perfectly into the final E minor. Which is the tonic chord of Now I think it's really interesting that rather than just jump to the new key of E minor, Rose's scene with the Dalek has the music slowly modulate there, so that when the theme kicks in, you're already in that key. I like to think that this is because the Dalek is manipulating Rose. It's not a sudden jump to E minor because it's not spontaneous. Everything went according to plan. It's like the sad music in the first half of the scene was just the Dalek playing on Rose's sympathy so that it could get what it wanted. You could argue that while the music is from Rose's perspective, it's almost like the Dalek is the one writing it.
You will begin.
Just like how in World War III, Murray uses the Prime Minister's theme to convey the sense of responsibility that Slitheen are trying to project. So the tempo ratchets up and the theme starts in the key of E minor before going up and up and up. It goes to G, then A, then B minor, before dropping back down to G, and then doing a chromatic ascent through the minor keys. Anyone who's listened to Portishead will know how unnerving this can sound. Now the designated instrument for the Daleks, a la Peter and the Wolf, is the choir. And that's quite an interesting choice for an instrument for portraying villains. Certainly in Western religious music, the choir is more associated with holiness and goodness and communal worship. So I guess what it's evoking here is the idea of a collective purpose. The culture of the Daleks is a bit like a religion. They all believe in this one thing that is more important to them than their own individuality. If you want a different example of a choir being used to represent a sinister collective, I recommend the score for Us by Michael Abels, where, much like the Daleks, the Tethered have this common purpose of committing mass murder. And I think it's particularly interesting when you consider that this story is just about one Dalek, because that's not how it sees it. It says, the Daleks survive in me, they are dead because of us. So it's like the choir you can hear are all the Daleks in its head, just, egging it on to kill.
What does that mean? Rise.
If the lyrics I found online are to be believed, then what the choir is singing is O ma core, o le sutla, and forgive my pronunciation on this last one, kore hever, which is Hebrew for oh what is happening, ascending higher, and what's up, man? So I don't know what was going on with that last line, what's up, man? Ascending higher makes perfect sense in the stairwell scene, and especially musically too, the tonality is getting higher and higher and higher. The oh what is happening is a little bit more ambiguous though, because surely the Daleks know what's happening. So maybe it's more of a Greek chorus type thing. The choir are like these external narrators commenting on events. That would be the objective interpretation of the music. Okay, let's rewind a bit to our first Dalek encounter. It starts with this low string drone.
So the longer the note, the more dread.
Then when the Dalek first speaks, you get this metallic stab. The interval's a semitone, pretty standard tension music, but the timbre I just can't put my finger on. It sounds a bit like the instrument that you first hear at the start of The Matrix. I think it's called a waterphone, and it feels like the hairs on the back of your neck just standing up with fright. Or rather, the hairs on the Doctor's neck, because of course, in this scene, the music's from his perspective. Fast forward a bit, and once again, you've got some textbook pitch shifting. We're in F minor, but the bass line drops down a tone, and then a tone again, and you get this beautiful tritone clash between the D flat in the bass and the G in the melody.
So are you. We are the same.
Which then pitch shifts down and away when the Doctor loses his temper.
We're not the same, I'm not.
Actually, you know what all this pitch shifting reminds me of? Ennio friggin' Morricone, R.I.P. Which stands to reason because, And that's something I'll get onto more and more, the Morricone influence. Maybe in a 1,000 years' time when I get around to doing A Town Called Mercy. Right, what else? The music cue here is exactly the same as the music cue here. Parallels, innit? And of course there's this harrowing musical moment. The organ just hangs over into the next scene, working with the sound design to emphasise the contrast between the noisy sprinklers and the deafening silence of the boardroom. It just gives real weight and respect to the death and destruction you've just seen on screen.
I want freedom.
Finally we come to the Lone Dalek. Only heard thrice in the entire history of the show, but it was written for this scene. I think the central idea behind this piece of music is, what if you took the villain's theme and combined it with the hero's? So in terms of notes, it has a lot in common with the Dalek theme. And those chords are lifted from the original, which is full of these harshly juxtaposed minor chords. Only this time the instrumentation is way softer. You know, instead of eerie synths and demonic choirs, you've got strings, woodwinds, and most importantly piano, which is Rose's instrument a la Peter and the Wolf. It's like Rose is taking over the Dalek's soul, which is on the one hand a good thing because the Dalek is now starting to question itself, but on the other hand is a bad thing because it's a Dalek and Daleks don't like to question themselves. I like this moment here. It seems like it's resolving to B flat minor, but like with their first encounter, Murray holds off on giving us either the major or minor third. You get the second, the seventh, the fourth, but it's still really tonally ambiguous. You first hear the major third on this shot of Rose, and it's so subtle. The piano is still playing the perfect fifth, but you can just about hear the D in this synth pad. Then a few moments later the piano plays the first B-flat major chord. And I think that final reluctant resolution to a major key sort of represents compassion breaking through Rose's fear and the Dalek's hatred. It's a really fragile melody that conveys how weak and vulnerable the Dalek really is. And then of course the Doctor comes along and the music immediately stops.
Get out of the way!
Because he's on a totally different page, he's not been on the same emotional journey as them. And it's not until he begins to feel that same empathy that the music starts up again.
Oh, Rose. They're all dead.
Okay, now time to bring it home.
Rose Tyler.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a lovely brass note. Very majestic. Now, on the album version, there's usually a choir at this point, and I think that's the version they use in Series 2. But I think it was sensible not to use the choir in this instance, because they're so associated with the Daleks, and this scene is about trying to break free from that programming. And then yet another deafening silence. Hey, it's a great technique, and if it works, man. That about wraps things up for today. Join me next time where I'll be talking about The Long Game and Father's Day. Still no sign off. Bye. That's my sign off. It's just bye.